Let's start over. Welcome, everybody. My name is David. This guy's name is Dave, and we have no idea how to use our microphones. It is December, isn't it?
It is. It's been a long year.
Anyway, so I was cracking a lot of funny jokes, and I'm not sure now I can repeat them. But anyway, this is our last webinar of the year. Next week, I'm bringing some awesome presents. Yeah. If our students might remember the Santa GPT post from about a month ago. While this lovely gentleman who got a haircut so drastic that he got a lot less hair and a lot more cut. Did it work the second time?
Yeah, it did.
Well, okay. So you're gonna be off skiing next week,
yeah,
right? Yeah. So yeah, it's wild. So sometimes we need to use ChatGPT to hallucinate some hair on top of Dave when we start missing his hair. But I'm starting to like it. At first, I said I didn't like it very much, but now I'm getting used to it.
Yeah,
it's like my first impression was Professor Xavier, but you can walk, so that's a plus.
Yeah,
you can even run. You can lift.
Oh yeah, and I can ski.
And you can ski. Okay, so while we're waiting for some people to join us, let us know if now you can hear us. Because the first time we forgot to turn on the microphone. Let us know if you can hear us, and let us know where you're from.
Yes, Gary, the avatar also got a haircut. I just recorded it today. So soon it's going to be live as well. It's going to be exciting to see a lot of bold versions of myself online. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. David, let's not waste one more second and let's get into teaching people.
Okay, that's why we're here.
Exactly.
Okay, so
I'm loading up the slides.
Oh, look at that. I've been watching Harry Potter with my wife lately, and
no, I have hair here.
Oh, you have hair there.
Okay, now I need to change.
Gettorido haircato. That was more Japanese than Harry Potter, but the Japanese version of Harry Potter. Anyway, okay. So for those of you who are watching us for the first time, welcome to our weekly ChatGPT webinar. My name is David, and this lovely gentleman next to me is Dave. Now we have a really easy way to distinguish who is who. Yes, hair, no glasses, no hair, yes, glasses. Anyway, but to give you some some cause for confusion, I'm going to show you a picture where both of us have hair. So Dave has an education background. He's our resident professor. I am actually starting to call him provost here in the company, and he said he didn't like it very much. But he is the one responsible for teaching everybody. He is the guy with the big brains, and I'm just a nerd who's used to be in tech for more than a decade now. I used to run a machine learning startup in London a couple of years ago. But Dave has built more than 160,000 people community teaching people online, and that's the skill set that we're bringing here as well. So what does that mean? What is here, right? You are all in the Prom Master community. Prom Master is a ChatGPT school. We launched this March, and we've had the privilege of teaching over 8,000 people from 47 countries since this March. We have partners as well. It's not just the two of us. Now we have a team, and our partners are researchers, academics who are working in the AI space, have decades of experience in researching AI, deep learning, neural networks, and also helping co-author our courses and our workshops. These guys are Neuron Solutions. And also, from February, we are also going to be guest lecturers at Neumann János University, which is in Kecskemét. It's in the countryside in Hungary. We're going to be teaching the first accredited prompt engineering course in Hungary. Now, what you guys are going to learn today, we brought you 4 main topics. First, we're going to give you a brief intro into ChatGPT, and we actually had a student of ours asking, how could they give a brief intro to ChatGPT? And I said, look, just show them this video.
Yeah.
Show them our webinar. This all assumes that you already know what ChatGPT is, though. If you don't, then buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to be a ride for life. Anyway, the second thing you're going to learn today is how to write one prompt. This is basically prompt engineering. This is the main sort of kickoff of the entire learning journey for you with ChatGPT. Learn how to do one prompt, because when you can write one prompt really well, then you can move on to designing entire conversations with ChatGPT. That's going to be important, but no spoilers yet. And then at the end, we're also going to teach you how to solve the single biggest issue with large language models, not just ChatGPT, and that is hallucination. So these are the 4 steps. And if I'm not mistaken, the cue is still mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's go into this. Oh, housekeeping note. This is fully recorded, and you will be able to watch back the recording on this event. And we're also going to upload this to free trainings as well. So if this is not your first time, you might be familiar with this. There was this recent study at Harvard, Wharton, and MIT where they basically came to the conclusion that any knowledge-based job can be done about 40% better and 30% faster with ChatGPT. I'm simplifying a lot, but if you join us in our school, you're going to know what means what. Basically, this is the key takeaway. If at the Christmas dinner table, someone asks you, hey, why should I use ChatGPT? Tell them this. Tell them that without using ChatGPT currently, a regular workday would take you about 8 hours, and doing the same thing but using ChatGPT can take you about 6 hours. So what are you going to do with the extra 2 hours? It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
2 hours is enough to get a workout in.
And eat.
Yeah.
I think I'm hungry. Anyway, so saving 2 hours a day, that's about, if you translate that into like actual work days, you're going to be saving over 60 work days a year.
Yeah.
Right. 60 work days a year. That's a long time. So basically what we teach is we help you save time and work better, or as we like to say, think faster. Shouldn't this be like a oh, this is not the part when it has the funky animations that
no, those are just like spilled in like all over the place.
Okay. I'm really excited. He showed me this presentation and it's awesome. Anyway, so how can you think faster with ChatGPT? Well, according to this research, I read this blog post from Ethan Mollick, who is an assistant professor at Wharton, and he was one of the people on this research team. He says that basically there are 2 ways of using ChatGPT. You're either a centaur or you're a cyborg. And I'm having trouble not smiling at this, because I promise this was not invented by me. This is kind of the weird humor that I usually have, and I'm absolutely amazed by this. But yes, if you are using ChatGPT, you're either a centaur or a cyborg. Why? Because if you're a centaur, then, the distinguishing feature of centaurs is that there's a clear distinction between human and non-human. So as a centaur, you will be writing a huge prompt and then sending that all to ChatGPT, and then you get a huge response back. A clear line of division between human and non-human, in this case, a large language model. Now, in the other use case, cyborgs melt, like, I don't know, it's like, what's the verb here? It's like they fuse with the machine.
Yeah, that's
right. They fuse with the machine. You're the same entity. It's impossible for you to tell where the human ends and where the machine starts, because you're having an ongoing conversation. Instead of just putting all your chips on red at the casino table and saying, okay, I'm writing one prompt, that's it, let's see how it goes.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck, everybody. I'm out. Bye. Instead of doing that, what you're actually doing is you're having a conversation with ChatGPT. Hey, write that. Okay, now change this. Now change that. There's an ongoing conversation. And that's really important distinction, because that unlocks superior use long term. Ethan Malik, as I mentioned, he says that the AI, as a chatbot, the AI is really built for exactly this sort of use, where you speak with the AI as if it's another person. And here's the thing. You need to be very good at having that conversation. And in order for you to think faster, you need to be a very good, very effective communicator. In fact, the people participating in this Harvard, Wharton, MIT study, they were management consultants who are already very adept at communication. So what we really teach is how to communicate effectively with a large language model, how to design a conversation with ChatGPT from beginning to end. When you know you have to write an email, write a website copy, write a contract template, when you need to process some data and create a report or summarize a report, you already probably are doing all those tasks. But when you want to do that, how do you go into talking to ChatGPT to get the right high quality output out of the model? You already have the input and the output criteria, so you have everything you need in order to design the conversation, and that goes beyond prompt engineering. So, as we said, writing one prompt effectively is about prompt engineering, but writing an entire conversation with ChatGPT is about conversation design. And this is what we teach our students. So, okay, here we go. So we get the animation. So basically what happens is that when someone starts learning with us, and I can see a couple of our students here with us, like Shay is very active. Hey, Shay. Just let them know what it's like going through these steps, because you start with learning prompt engineering. Okay, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, let's go. Let's learn prompt engineering. Da-da-da-da, boom. Good. Now, once you learn prompt engineering and you're really good at the foundations and the basics, then move on to learning conversation design and design entire conversations to get the right high quality output. And then, hey, what's going on?
So this is the slide where I'm like, okay, now let's get into prompt engineering.
Oh, so we don't know conversation design yet.
We don't.
Okay. So can you teach us prompt engineering quickly so we can move on to the next step?
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Yes. So now, basically, what we brought for this webinar is to give you like 3 beginner steps to be able to use ChatGPT for work really well. And it is a little bit of it is a high ambition to try to teach you everything we know in a 60-minute webinar, but we'll try our best to give you a lot of knowledge that you can use right now. So what we prepared is basically a prompt engineering crash course. And I'm going to give myself 10 to 15 minutes to explain to you everything you need to know to begin with prompt engineering and using ChatGPT. So what average users do when they use ChatGPT is they just write a task as the prompt. So for example, they say, write a Facebook ad about X product, and they say a few things about a product, and then they get some generic sounding answer. What ChatGPT Pros do, on the other hand, is they use a lot of different elements of a prompt. So there are 6 of them, as you can see on the slide, and their prompts look a little more complex. So for example, they would say, act as an advertising copywriter who is witty, concise, and his primary objective is to make ads that people click on. Write a Facebook ad copy and describe the visual the product to promote is. You put in a description there, and you can insert examples, restrictions, and so on if relevant. So writing a better prompt, writing a more detailed prompt is going to help you a lot with getting a better quality output from ChatGPT and other large and small language models as well. So for this webinar, I brought 5 of our best tips for better prompting, and feel free to take screenshots of the slides. I also put in a few examples that you can copy and use in your own prompts. But as we said, the recording is also going to be available on this exact same link in the Circle community, so you can always come back to it and recap if I'm talking too fast or you lost us somewhere. So. And this is the power of online education. Like you can just always come back to if you fall behind somewhere, or you get like a phone call. I'm like, you can take that and then just come back later.
Okay, sorry. Hey, Santa.
Santa is calling you.
Sorry, I'm on a webinar.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
So let's teach Santa then. One of the things he needs to do is to give ChatGPT a persona, and this tells how ChatGPT should behave. The template for this is to act as a certain title who has a certain tone of voice, you define those, and the primary objective. This is what we call the persona. For example, you could say act as an advertising copywriter. In that case, that's the persona, who is witty, concise, and this primary objective is to make ads that people click on. The second tip that we have is to define the tone of voice and writing style that you want ChatGPT to sound like. This is especially important if you are writing something a little bit more creative. So you're not just creating internal documentations, but maybe you're using it to write blog posts, to create online marketing content, landing pages, emails, and so on. So this way you can make it sound a lot more like you, especially if you know how you already sound like. So try to define with adjectives on how you sound like. For example, are you bold, controversial, or aggressive, or are you more like calm, empathetic, and short-spoken? There are always going to be a lot of adjectives. So if you have a difficult time on figuring out how you really sound like, there's a great reverse prompting exercise that I brought for you. So you can make ChatGPT sound like you with the following prompt. You can send like, I'm going to send you 3 different texts from 3 different authors. I'd like you to act as a copywriter coach and help me surface what makes the first author's text unique from the other 2 in all areas of writing, included but not limited to tone of voice, vocabulary, style, logic, and use of rhetorical tools. And then you put in text 1, you put in your text there, something that you've written before, and it's something that you want ChatGPT to analyze and be able to write copy or any kind of text that sounds like that. And then you put in 2 other pieces of text from 2 other authors. And when you do this, ChatGPT is going to give a detailed analysis on how the first text sounds like and how you can describe it with words. And then you can just use it in your next prompt. Like, here is how you should sound like, and then you put in the paragraph that ChatGPT gave you before. The next tip number 3, is to provide examples. And this can be, for example, best performing previous content that you created, or content from your competitors that are performing well, or anything that really inspires you and you want it to be in the output from ChatGPT. This really helps the AI model to understand what you're asking for. And you don't always have to use this, but you should use them if you want to modify how ChatGPT says things. So, for example, you can put in a prompt as quote unquote, here is how Gen Z talks about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is legit lit. Try ChatGPT, kind of sus, but low-key you vibe when you need quick answers. Bruh, ChatGPT is the GOAT. GOAT is short for greatest of all time.
This is a vibe, bro.
NGL, not gonna lie, it's a massive W. If you use it, you won't take any L's, no cap. And if you put this into ChatGPT, you will get a response something like this, which is like, sure, here's a Facebook ad tailored for Generation Z, incorporating the provided examples and inviting them to a free ChatGPT webinar, just like the one you're attending right now. Yo, Gen Z, get ready to level up your game. Or are you ready to level up your game? This Wednesday, dive into the world of ChatGPT, where it's all about being legit lit. Ever thought AI was sus? ChatGPT will change your mind. It's the quick answer, champ, you didn't know you needed. Join our free webinar and discover why everyone's saying, bruh, ChatGPT is the GOAT. Learn how it can turn every challenge into a massive W. No L's, no cap. Don't miss out. This Wednesday could be a start of something big. So this can really help. Using these examples can really help to fine-tune the responses. And sometimes it's a lot easier to do than actually training your own fine-tuned model to replicate and mimic how you sound. So if you have a specific target audience that uses a specific kind of words and specific kind of messaging, AI can really help you to personalize the messages. And this is where it has a lot of power. Tip number 4 is to define expected behavior and constraints. This sets the boundaries for the response. It tells the model how to behave. So for example, in a prompt, you can say, in your marketing strategy, keep in mind our limited resources, like we only have a 5-people team. So that way it's going to give you, or maybe you are doing things alone and on yourself, then you can tell it like, hey, I'm a solopreneur, and I want to make sure that I can execute these things. And then for tweets, you can say a maximum of 280 characters or for a blog, you can give a restriction of like at least 500 words. Now I put the little star or asterisk there because ChatGPT is not really good at counting the characters or words as it is generating them. Afterwards, it can write some code that can actually count it. And it seems like it's getting a lot better at doing the mathematical calculations. But these are not really going to always be clear boundaries for the behavior. So it's better to say long or short response, give me a structured or an unstructured, like, structured like a bullet point list or a numbered list, something like that. Or you can say it should be detailed or surface level. And then tip number 5 is to define what a good response sounds like to you. So this really sets the standard for the response and really helps personalize it. If you don't know what would be a good response, you can ask ChatGPT first to tell you like what makes a privacy statement good. And then it will tell you a good privacy statement is clear, direct, and easy to understand. Keep technical jargon and legal terminology to minimum. And then you can use that in your next prompt, or you can just save it for later and then use it whenever you load up ChatGPT.
Or you can do the exact opposite and ask it to talk at a PhD level who assumes extensive prior knowledge, which is mainly the sort of defining good response part of the prompt that I'm using when I'm doing academic research. It takes some nudging and prompting to get there, but it can get into not just a verbose discussion, but also a very, very scientifically rigorous.
Yeah, so you can tell it to be like medically accurate, like talk to me like a medical researcher and tell me all the receptors and chemicals that are working on this thing, and it's going to give you really good answers. So it's this way you can write prompts that will help you get better responses. And this was the ChatGPT prompt engineering crash course in 9 minutes and 9 seconds.
Wow.
So I think I kind of nailed the promise here. And we are going to the next step, which is conversation design.
I wanted to push the
button. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You can push it now.
Nice. So I still have the button, which is just a fancy name for a keyboard, but I only use one button on this keyboard instead.
There you go.
Da 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 da. Perfect. So thank you, Mr. Talash.
Of course.
Teaching us how to write one prompt. Now,
I want to say, hold on, before you go there, I want to say to people that if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We are constantly seeing the chat on our big TV here. So
there's a big TV and little TV and a tiny TV.
Yeah. So we see if you tell us something in the chat, if you have questions about a slide or anything, let us know and we'll try our best to respond either in chat. If Dave is talking, I'll go jump in the chat, or we can bring up something on the stage here and answer the question.
So ask questions.
Yeah. So go ahead, David.
Okay. So now we know how to write one prompt really well.
Right.
And we're going to use that. We keep giving persona or creating a persona, giving it context. We're going to define the styles, the tone of voice, what the good response is. Awesome. But if you've tried using ChatGPT before, you will notice that just writing the perfect prompt does not yield the perfect result. So there is a discrepancy there, and then you just need to keep sort of nudging the model to get to a really perfect production quality result. So how do you do that? Now, we have this little superpower that's called context. Now, the chat in ChatGPT means that you're having a chat with the model, which means that it does remember the context within one conversation. It is dialogical. You need to have a conversation with it. It remembers the context. So when you keep having a conversation, you basically are guiding the model, and it's your job to guide the model. It's not just enough saying, okay, now off you go, chop, chop. and then it starts going in a specific direction.
Yeah, like write me a book.
Yeah, write me a book. Duh. Right? And then it will fight with its own limitation and constraints and everything. And you can write the most convoluted prompt. It still will not be enough. It will still not be able to sort of navigate through the waters. But it will be able to start going. It will get some momentum. But then you will need to keep feeding context to guide the model to the treasure. Now, let's break that down a bit. So let's say that this is the output that you want. But this output is made out of building blocks. Let's see it.
You don't need to like over exaggerate these animations.
But I want
they are
to.
already trashed by themselves.
I love them. I love them. Look, I can go back. Reparo.
We don't have time. We don't have time for this, David.
Okay. Anyway. So you have the building blocks of the output, and you need to understand the building blocks of what makes a good output. You need to think before you start chatting with ChatGPT, because let's say you want to write a blog post. First, you have the idea. Then you not need to research the idea. Then you need to find the keywords. Once you got the keywords, you need to start drafting the whole blog post with just bullet points. And once you have the bullet points, then you turn it into a table of contents with headings. And then you start writing the blog post one heading at a time. And once you write it, then you go back and review it and edit it. You rewrite it if needed. And then you start adding extras, again, if needed. And once you're done with that, then you can move on to start writing marketing materials to promote the post on social media. This is really important. This is basically deconstructing the task that you want to do with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is doing the doing for you, but you need to guide it. So whenever you want to do something with ChatGPT, you need to guide it step by step. And that starts with you thinking about what are the steps you need to do with that task, because you need to just break it down into multiple steps. And imagine this, like we looked at writing a blog post and then we broke it down into 9 steps. It's not a very difficult thing. If you're a copywriter, most of these come automatically to you. But actually, it is a conscious effort to do all of these steps. However, it's very important that as you guide ChatGPT through these steps, even if they are not very well thought out, even if you're having a badly designed conversation, your end results from the model will always be higher quality than just one super convoluted mega prompt with a gazillion plus one different parameters.
Yeah, and imagine if you get an error while you have like a big prompt and you just lose it. Like you accidentally refresh the page and then you lose it. I know it happened to us.
No, it's
yeah. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. Yeah. So you need to be very good at just breaking down your task into multiple components and then just write a prompt for each of those subtasks. And that's what's going to end up having a real conversation with ChatGPT that helps you write the blog post, create the report, create the contract, etc. So as you can see, the key thing here to do with conversation design is to reverse engineer your job to what the ingredients are. What are the ingredients of, let's say, putting together a research paper? This is just one way of thinking about this. But when you want to put together a research paper, you want to at first you want to have the theoretical background. Then you want to understand the current state of research. Then you want to state a hypothesis, then create the experiments, and then you present the data. Then you analyze the data, present statistics. Then you need visualizations, and then you need the actual written content that explains all of those things. These are the sort of building blocks to a research paper. These are the ingredients to a good research paper. So these would be 8 different steps you would do with ChatGPT. Now, here are a few beginner conversation design methods. These are what we call in our prompt engineering course prompt engineering strategies. And also some of them, most of them, are also presented as conversation design patterns to our students. One that is very popular would be chain of thought prompting. Again, conversation. You create a prompt, you get a response, and then building on top of that, you give it some more context, you change your question, you change your prompt a bit, you get some more another response, and then you keep going, and you're guiding ChatGPT through a chain of thought. There are several ways of doing that. Just a couple to give you an idea. You can use ChatGPT as a search tool, right? You can get information from it. You can get information from the training data. You can get information through search, which is now embedded into GPT-4. But if you want to build on previous context, you can take your previous conversations and you can narrow the conversation down. And that would be one specific design pattern for using ChatGPT. You build out a bunch of different ideas, and then you start selecting a few of them, and then you want to evaluate them, and then you select one of them. Or you can do the opposite. You can broaden the conversation. You can be like, okay, I go down into the rabbit hole on one specific topic for my blog post. I write the article, and then I go back and say, okay, now I wrote this one article based on what you have in your context. Now give me 5 different ideas on what other articles I could write. So you're broadening the conversation. Or you can also clarify. You're going through a question answer type of conversation with ChatGPT. You're trying to learn about something, and then it explains to you something that you didn't really catch. So you're like, okay, can you please explain this to me as if I was 5, to make sure that I can really understand the basic concept? These are just really simple ways of how you can use chain of thought prompting. Another one would be nested prompts. When you not only use a chain of thought prompting, but then you just kind of nest the whole conversation into a new conversation, and then you can summarize the entire conversation. You can analyze the conversation. You can identify themes from either from the conversation or previous responses, previous conversations, and you can extract key points. You can also copy and paste transcripts and other documents. You can even upload documents now to GPT-4, and you can manipulate the text somehow. And you're like, okay, so you have the document, you have all that information. Now use all of that for me to summarize. Give me the key ideas. After you summarize it, give me the key ideas in bullet points. And then you can move on to actually broadening the conversation on each of those bullet points. And that's how you can sort of move back and forth between nested prompts and chain of thought prompts, depending on what you want to do. But this is how you can manipulate a large amount of text. This nested prompt logic is exactly the same that we did when we were having a long interview with the media company. They did a recording. It was more than 2 hours long. And we get the transcript. And the reporter asked us to actually prepare sort of a draft for the article. And we used this strategy to extract the key ideas from the transcript and prepare a draft for him. And it took us less than 30 minutes? Something like that. And you can create not just a draft, but you can create mind maps, outlines, an entire report, even an FAQ, or you can just go off on a tangent and do like creative stuff. Also, one of my personal favorites would be the split GPT. Which is funny because I just know, like, James McAvoy from Split
looks like me.
Yeah, kind of.
Maybe I am.
Maybe we are. He had like 27 personalities, and they weren't very friendly, so I'm hoping not. You are friendly. Okay, so persona switching is one of my personal favorite. You're like, hey, act as a strategist and ask me questions. and then it asks me questions, and I'm like, okay, now act as the business owner of this company and answer these questions, and then it answers the questions. Okay, now act as the strategist again and ask follow-up questions based on the answers, and then you're just switching between two personas, and then you can introduce a third or a fourth persona, which becomes really interesting and also very complicated. But that's basically the way how you can create incredibly complicated stuff really quickly. You are just basically creating new personas, and you're facilitating a conversation between of those personas. Now, let's see what else we have here. There is also another approach to conversation design, which is sort of deconstructing a big task. And that, if you remember, in the beginning, I had the animation of like writing the blog post and doing 9 different tasks. That's basically the foundations of it. You take a big complex task and then you turn it into multiple simple subtasks, right? And then each of those subtasks would be even then broke down into separate steps that you would prompt for one after the other. And again, you don't need to keep remembering all of those, because it can still remain within the context, especially if you're using GPT-4, which now has an incredibly large context window. So these were the main conversation design methods: chain of thought prompting, nested prompts, persona switching, and breaking down big tasks to small tasks, what I like to call deconstructing problems. And I think if you don't do anything, just follow Dave's recommendations on how to write one prompt, and then use those as guidelines to use these strategies to the next email you need to write, to the next report you need to create. And don't be afraid if ChatGPT does not return the right quality output at first. Keep having a conversation with it, and remember these strategies. You will start seeing an immediate uplift in the value of what you get out of ChatGPT. So this is the conversation design part, and this is obviously a very beginner approach, and we go so much more deeper with our students. But this is where we get to finally get on the next step. Okay, can I do it?
Yeah.
Nice. You did not know that I would be this enthusiastic about these animations, did you?
No, I didn't. I
love
didn't
this.
think that.
I love this. Okay, so now that you know how to write one prompt really well, and then how to guide ChatGPT in the right direction to give you very high quality output, there's still one problem, and that is hallucinations.
Exactly, and that's a big problem.
Very big problem. I just want to say before we move on, Andrej Karpathy, who currently works at OpenAI, used to work at Tesla. He's one of those AI researchers who currently has an open return position to Tesla. He basically, Musk just told him, look, if you want to come back to Tesla, you just come into the office, and from that moment you work at Tesla. It's that simple. He's one of the top 10 AI researchers on the planet right now. And he had this really interesting tweet where he said that AI hallucination is not necessarily a problem. It's a problem when we fact check it, because large language models are basically dreaming machines.
Right.
They are designed to hallucinate, but we accept some of those hallucinations if they happen to be true. So that's
the problem. Yeah.
And how do you make sure that the machine itself is capable of checking whether or not it's true?
Oh, that was his tweet?
No, he went off like for quite a while explaining that the problem is with humans, not with the machine. But
yeah, okay. So
for human use, we do need that.
Yeah,
so
what I can help with is to try to fix the human part now, as I don't have the capabilities to modify ChatGPT's internal workings nor the access. So I'm gonna take over the mic and help you guys a little bit with stopping hallucinations. First, we need to understand what hallucinations are, and a short definition is like where the model generates information that is false but presents them as truth. So it doesn't really tell you all the time that it's like, hey, I don't have access to this information. It's getting better, GPT-4 especially, but GPT 3.5 is just going to ramble on forever without even being able to fact check itself. So there are two main reasons, and there are other few, less important reasons, but two main reasons are data gaps in the training. So ChatGPT was not trained on certain data, especially in languages that are not spoken that as common as English. And then the second one is bad prompts. So for now, we handled the bad prompts part with the prompt engineering crash course and the conversation design, beginner methods on how you can design the entire conversation. So in this part, we are going to show you how you can fix the data gaps. And there are three main things you can do. First, you can just feed the data in the prompt, especially with GPT-4. There is a huge context window, which is like basically more than Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So you can store a lot of information in the prompt itself with GPT-4 or Claude. GPT 3.5, not so much, but this is one way where you just copy paste what's important to you into the prompt. It's a little extensive in terms of you have to go and find the information first, but then you can just put it into the model. The second is if you let GPT-4 browse the web either by itself with the browse with Bing feature, or if you use a plugin like Keymate AI Search that can help you search the web. So that's another way that you can make sure that it gets information from the internet, and then you have to fact check yourself whether the source information was correct, but it's going to give you the references on where it got the information from, and that way you can go to the website and say, okay, I think this website is legit. This content seems to be good. And the third way is to create something that's called a knowledge base and connect ChatGPT to it. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that. So here's a simplified explanation of a knowledge base. So there is this, and this is just the example of the Pantone color database. Pantone is the world's most famous paint and color library, or like a company who can help you with creating or giving you paints, textile colors, print colors, and so on. So designers around the world are using these Pantone colors. And all of these colors, for the sake of simplicity now, we are going to use the HSB, so hue, saturation, and brightness. Now imagine that Doja Cat wants to paint the town red, and she goes into a paint shop. And she goes like, hey, bitch, I said what I said. I want to paint the town red. But she doesn't really know. She doesn't really know what the exact color should be, but she knows that it has to be Pantone because Pantone is the best. So she goes in, from this picture, I just color picked one of the pixels from the red behind her. And then she goes in and puts this color into the database, and the database is going to throw out the Pantone red 032, which is, if you compare the numbers of the hue, the saturation, and the brightness, they are very, very similar. And this is how we can compare colors to colors with, using a database. This is just a simplified explanation. So how we compared two colors with a computer that cannot see the colors themselves is we converted both to HSB. So we converted it to numerical variables and stored them, and then we calculate the distance. So the shorter the distance, the closer the match is. And then let's use this analogy for comparing text to text. Again, computers can only count things, so they cannot really make sense of sentences like we do humans. What we need to do first is to vectorize all of these, so to convert them into numbers, like a thousand dimensional. This is not important how it happens. What I want to transfer to you guys is to get the idea, the theory behind it, and then you will be able to use it on your own. So once you have all the information as vectors, then you can start making mathematical calculations between the two. Shorter distance means a better match for, like a sentence. So to do this, step one is to create a vector database, and there are a lot of tools that can help you with this. for the sake of the example now, I'm going to use Superpowered AI, one of our partners. So what you do is you have a raw text, and then you just basically upload it to this tool. What it does is it first vectorizes the information, and then it stores it in a vector database. Now, the problem is you have ChatGPT that you can give it a prompt, and then it can give you a response back. But like, how do we connect these two, which would be our step number 2, to connect to the vector database. And these tools can help you to vectorize the prompt itself as well. So convert it to numbers, and then they can put that into the vector database and find the closest neighbors that have, if you subtract the two numbers, they have very little distance to them. And then only the relevant parts or segments get added back to the prompt and sent to ChatGPT, and then the ChatGPT gives back the model response. So using AI tools like the custom GPTs, where you upload your knowledge in a PDF format, or using a tool like Keymate AI or Superpowered AI, you can connect the vector databases to these large language models. And I hope this was clear enough for everyone to kind of like get like an overview. And David, how about we spend a few minutes to do a demo?
Yeah, but before we do that, I just want to highlight RJ Johnson had a really great comment, and I just want to read that out loud, right? Yeah. So RJ says that hallucinations are a big problem in the legal community, and that really resonates with the interview I had with the CEO of Superpowered AI earlier this week, Zach, who says that the bulk of the use cases for Superpowered AI users are legal use cases. Yeah. Most of the use cases are legal based. And so there was this one attorney who was reported to the bar because he cited a case in a motion that doesn't exist. He used ChatGPT to research cases and it made one up. And then Westlaw overcame this with their new AI add-on, Westlaw Precision, by only allowing the LLM to train on its own database. And this is why Keymate and Superpowered are so valuable, because you create a custom knowledge base and instruct the AI to use only that knowledge base. Now, here's the thing. RJ asks if does this make hallucinations impossible? It's not. It doesn't make them impossible, but that's a more advanced topic. But 9 times out of 10, it gets rid of the issue. But for that only 10%, that's what I want to highlight, is that you cannot completely omit human supervision. But if you know that you're using the best approach with a vector database, with retrieval, to actually you add the memory to the large language model, then your supervision, your reviews will take at least by an order of magnitude less time than what it would take you to write those things yourself.
Right. Yeah. So think faster.
Think faster. Exactly. So next step would be the demo.
Okay. Give me 1 second to get everything, up to speed.
Should I share my screen, or
no, I'm doing it,
or you're doing it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 chats, right?
Here we go. We have 1 chat and the Prompt Master Tutor.
And the Prompt Master
So what we're
Tutor.
going to do, what I'm thinking, because our time is short, we only have 10 more minutes of this webinar. I'm going to start writing a prompt to the Prompt Master Tutor, ask it to query the knowledge base, and in the meanwhile, we can demo Athena.
Okay.
So what I'm going to say is really simple, like we always do. What are the 6 key elements of a prompt? And what it's going to do now is it's going to go to its knowledge base and find information from our prompt engineering course that I uploaded as a transcript PDF into this prompt and send it back to us. So while it's doing its thing, David, you have this piano improvement plan. You can use your trackpad if that's turned on. Or you can just use my computer.
I'm going to use this. Yeah. Okay. So here, what is this? So Athena is a custom GPT that I built, and I shared it with our community as well in the custom GPT's library. And Athena basically helps you learn anything. And the way it does, I've written a GPT instruction that is instructed to put you through a guided conversation design pattern at the end of which you actually get a learning plan. So let's say I'm currently trying to become better at the piano. I used to play it a lot, but I'm nowhere near at the level where I want to be. So I'm like, hey, I want to be better at the piano. Okay, now its first thing that it does, as instructed, is try to break it down into knowledge, skill, and wisdom. Try to understand what I'm trying to learn, break them down into multiple learning outcomes. This is the bit that I learned from this guy. And then Athena goes on and asks me questions, feeding itself, requesting context. So I answer by giving context. Yeah, I used to play piano for a few years, yada, yada, yada. Here are a couple songs I can play, what I can do in terms of improvisation, etc. And then it's like, okay, so here is a quick summary of how I would evaluate your ability, your current level, the desired outcomes. How much time can you invest? And then I'm like, okay, I can do an hour a day. Okay, so with an hour a day, let's start with the first month. Here's the first month. Is this the direction you want to go to? And I can already say it gives me recommendations on tools, provides me with a daily routine.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, resources, etc. So is it what you're looking for? I'm like, yeah. Okay, as instructed, if I confirm that this is what I want, then it goes into actually building the weekly breakdown of my training plan based on what I provided as context. And here is the actual training plan per week on what I should do. And it goes to be as granular as saying, get comfortable with improvising in C, G, and F major keys, right? And then week 3, improve your ability to read and play simultaneously. And that's incredibly hard. I used to go to music school for 4 years and I never managed to learn that. So here's the thing. And this was a big bit of a tweak for Athena. I said, I don't actually need the 12 month. The 12 month is just to instruct its thinking. But as a student, I don't want to think ahead for 12 weeks. Right? I want to give me tasks for 1 month and then ask me to return and give me more context. So it's like, after the first month, check in with yourself. How do you feel about improvements? Are you ready to move on to the next phase of learning? If you're comfortable with your progress, then we can then plan for month 2, which will build upon these skills further. Here's something of a little hack that I did. ChatGPT does not lose context over time.
Yeah.
So it retains the context within the same chat. So I can go off, keep learning, and come back a month later saying, I'm back after a month. I'm now more comfortable with improvising in C, G, F majors. I can create simple melodies fluently. I can replicate some chords by ear, and I can read and play beginner level sheet music at first sight. I learned basic versions of 4 pop songs this month. All in all, I think I'm ready to move on to month 2. Good. Here is month 2.
Right.
And then
it just keeps going.
And then it just keeps going. It's basically a tutor now, and that thinks for me. Week 5.
So you could even do it like day by day. Like,
I
hey,
could do
this
it
is what
day
I
by day.
experienced, on the session. This is what I struggled with.
128,000 context is so much that you can even have like 100-day training plan, and it can still guide you day to day.
This is nuts.
It is nuts.
Okay, let's go quickly back to our
Let's see what happened with the tutor.
So as you can see, it gave us a list of the 6 key elements of a prompt from the course transcript that would, it even referred to the file as outlined in the prompt engineering course transcript. And it says context or persona, task definition, examples, expected behavior constraints, what is considered good, expected steps towards the goal. And then I could go into the conversation of like, okay, now based on this, help me to correct this prompt. And I put in a prompt and it would say, well, maybe you're missing the expected behavior constraints. Let me do that for you.
If you've been with us and trialed out a few things, you will be familiar with the term conversation design. Chatbots and large language models are designed to be dialogical. You should have a conversation with them, because the more conversation you have with them, the more context they have. The more context they have, the better the output will be, which is why at Prompt Master, we don't use other people's prompts, and we don't teach people how to write incredibly long prompts, because that is silly. Instead of silly things, we teach you how to think faster. And let me show you how can you write a high converting blog article from pretty simple, unstructured information super fast. So we start this task as saying, I'm going to give you, dear ChatGPT, a persona. Act as a world-class copywriter who specializes in high converting blog copy. Explain how to write a compelling blog article that attracts visitors and converts well. Be very structured, talk in simple terms, give me a list of criteria I can follow. In essence, teach me how to write an article that will convert well. Now, what I did here was pretty simple. Instead of just rushing ahead and asking it to write me an article, first I wanted to use ChatGPT to pull in some context into the context window from the model itself. Teach me how to write a good article, understand your audience, define your goals. There are a bunch of tasks here that I got.
David, can you please show us the end result? Like spoil it for us, so we
I'm
see
just gonna spoiler ahead.
What's the treasure that we are hunting right now?
Okay, so the treasure that we're hunting right now is this. We actually going to end up writing not just a blog article, but then we're going to write an entire sales page copy. Look at that. So what we're going to have is unlock your full potential, limited seats available. Welcome to life-changing experience. Are you ready to revitalize? I'm not going to read the whole thing. Don't worry. So it's basically I think it's a mobility routine seminar that we ended up writing the landing page for in the end. So there are a few seminar highlights, expert insights, practical exercises, etc. Very specific stuff here. Then there are science-backed transformative benefits with sources as well. These sources are all in here. It's not hallucinated. Then we have an exclusive offer. Act now and save big. Early bird discount, and you get a bonus ebook. Then we get real stories, real results. Now, obviously, these ones are made up, but we wanted to create the example, and then you can just put in your own examples. Then you get the seminar details, $49. This was an information I got from for the example. And then, are you ready to transform your life? Here's the call to action. And then we also just finished the whole thing. It's with a referral offer and the not referral, it's a social sharing offer, and then a short intro for the business, connect with us. That's it. And then an SEO optimized meta description.
All right.
So
awesome.
A full landing page copy without, like, I haven't even read what was in between. You know that I'm notorious for not reading ChatGPT responses. I just go through the conversation design because I know what it's going to end like. It's like a magician's trick. It doesn't matter which card the other person chooses. It's always going to be it's always going to end up the same card. So let's see how we got to this.
Okay, so first step was like a protocol for how do we write good blog posts.
Correct. So then once we got that, I'm like, okay, ask me a series of questions that will help you write an article while also adhering to the rules you just gave me. So it's still within the same persona. Now I'm feeding context. Ask me a series of questions. And then it's like, okay, here are the questions. Who's your target audience? What are the specific needs? Yada, 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 yada.
Sorry, David, can you zoom in a little bit on the window?
Of course I can.
You know, some people might be watching from mobile.
Okay, like that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So ask me a series of questions, and then we get a bunch of start simple questions. Who is your target audience, specific needs and interest, main topic or problem this article is going to address, surprising fact, bold statement, common pain point, also, SEO strategies, what are primary, secondary keywords, etc. So there's a lot of these questions. And then I said, so I have a business in the fitness and longevity market. I do small classes and seminars. My expertise is in mobility. And again, I'm a lazy kid. So I just said, invent the responses based on this info to answer your questions, right? And it's like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna invent the responses. And then, when I look at these as a person who actually runs a business like this, I can actually read and evaluate. It's like, okay, it nailed it, that part. Maybe the primary objective is good, but the KPIs would be a bit different. I don't know, power words, I don't like them, so maybe we could. So it's like I I ask it to do the work for me, and I just kind of skim through the results, not reading that entirely. And I'm like, okay, is there only like one or two things that I would like to change, or are there like more stuff? Because if there are more stuff, I'm not even going to go in there. I'm like, okay, let's keep going. So, you know what? Now conduct a research on the internet and give me a summary of information that I will be able to use to write this article. Be specific, provide data, provide stories. Now, please note that I used a plugin here, but we don't need to use a plugin anymore if you're a ChatGPT Plus subscriber, because now you can use web search or web browsing and Dolly and code interpreter all in one with ChatGPT 4. So you don't even need to do anything. Now, it started finding me information, but I wanted specificity, and this is not very specific. Studies have shown that individuals tend to have a longer lifespan. Good, but what studies and how much longer? It's like, come on,
come on,
yeah. So there are a lot of potentially good stuff here, but it's somewhat boring, right? So it's like, nah, okay. And then I got like 3 source links. Come on. You can do better, ChatGPT. So I'm like, okay, give me a set of bullet points with statistics that I can use. Boom, I got some bullet points. Increased longevity. Oh, look at that. 22% lower risk of death. WHO.
Hold on, they're saying we are frozen. Scott says we are frozen.
Are we frozen? Are we still frozen? Can you guys hear us?
Let's keep going.
Okay.
If people say like, yeah, this stream got messed up, then we'll fix it.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have a bunch of specific, like we have numbers and we have sources, which is good. We have bullet points, numbers, and sources, so it's getting better. But I'm like, okay, let's do this again. So I'm refeeding everything, but I'm saying act as a WordCast copywriter who specializes in high converting blog copy. Now, write me a compelling blog article that follows the rules below. Also use the data referenced in the article to make it more credible. And then, boom, here are the answers I got originally, right, to the questions. And then I also got the actual data that I got. And that's it. So it's like I compiled everything together and put it back in. So I fed the context, and then, okay, let's see that, right? Let's see that, but like awesome article. And then I got this article. It's like, unlock your full potential. Yeah, I would never heard that one before. Transform your life with mobility exercises for fitness and longevity. Well, again, thank you for nothing. I'm not very happy with this, but we're getting there. So we got the introduction. We got the body, importance of mobility. There are a few bullet points, mobility exercises and their benefits. I mean, I've seen blogs having like articles written in lower quality than this. So it's not entirely bad, but we could probably be better. So it's like, okay, now use this to write the copy for a landing page that's optimized for conversions, where I can get signups for my upcoming online mobility seminar for $49. Because here's the thing. I only wanted to write the blog article so I have an action-focused copy that I can then use to write a landing page, right? So then I get the landing page, and it's like, unlock your full potential. Welcome to transformative journey, expert insights. Now we're getting pretty close to what was the end result. But as you can see, I'm not entirely happy yet. So let's keep having that conversation, right? Let's keep having that conversation. I'm like, okay, you know what? Act as a performance marketer, switching personas. Evaluate this landing page copy. Provide me suggestions as a list of bullet points on how to improve my copy to increase my revenue. And boom, there is a bunch of recommendations. Add urgency, highlight value proposition, use numbers, be specific, call to action, visual elements, testimonials, pricing, social proof, SEO. Okay, there are a lot of things. Switch the persona back again. As you can see, I'm deliberately using conversation design patterns. I knew what my end result was, my desired end result was when I started this conversation. But instead of just rushing into it, I was planning for the conversation beforehand. And I knew that first I need to get the rules. Then I need to get a blog article, a copy. Then I need to turn the copy into a landing page article. That's kind of the logic. And get ChatGPT to act like this person and that person, and then I want to make them talk to each other, and that's how I have this conversation. So it's like, okay, now you got the suggestion. So now go back to being a copywriter and rewrite the website copy by implementing all of these suggestions. And I get it. Welcome to a life-changing experience. Are you ready to revitalize your life, transform your fitness routine, and unlock untapped potentials? Are we happy with this, Dave?
I mean, it's not bad.
It's not bad, not terrible.
And this
is the end result for now, right?
Yeah. So I think what's key here is you can go from not having, like, not even an idea of what I'm going to write in that piece of paper, writer's block, like how am I going to do like write a landing page, and you can go from idea to like even not having an idea, just the desire of what you want.
Yeah.
And you can go to having a 90% ready landing page copy in 10 to 15 minutes, which would previously, without ChatGPT, take you like 3 to 4 hours if you are a seasoned copywriter.
Yeah. So it's basically, here's the thing. I can write a full landing page copy, first draft, faster than you can brief your copywriter. And that's what we mean when we say, when you use ChatGPT, you can think faster.
Yeah.
Right? You can think faster, because now I can send this to the copywriter and say, hey, this contains everything I'm thinking of doing. Here is all the data that I got, like all the questions you might probably going to ask me. And also here's the landing page copy. Like, can you make this better? Mm-hmm. Now, this is literally what we did. Every single text on our prommaster.com website is written by ChatGPT.
Yeah, and then we just added a few parts.
We added a few parts, and then what we did is we hired a copywriter, and we asked, his name is Ollie. We hired a copywriter and sent him, okay, can you just please look at it and see how we could make it better? So basically, we spent about 20 minutes on writing the landing page. And actually, you know what Ollie said? He's like, add more testimonials, but other than that, it's lit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine. And then we added more testimonials. We changed a few things around on promaster.com, but we now have, I think, too many testimonials, because we have a lot of very active students. I can see a lot of you guys in the comments as well. Or in the chat as well. And, these guys are crazy. I love all of you. And these are so good at learning stuff and very eager. So when I reached out to our students saying, hey, can you give us a testimonial? I just got so many that now I think we need to start filtering them from the website.
Well, yeah, but we are also really grateful for all of you for sending the testimonials. Yeah. And
it's so good to just
an educational company can never have enough testimonials. So what we need to do is to create like a separate page,
testimonial
page. Like student highlights, where everyone can say what they did and what they learned from us.
This is what I told Dave the other day, is that I want to just flood, like literally choke everybody with testimonials, because you guys are better in saying that how valuable these sessions are than we are. So I just want to like flood people. It's like, hey, are you thinking of joining us? Just here is 10 gazillion people who think you should.
Yeah. So
okay, so this was the first chat.
Hold on, there's a question from Gary in the chat. He has like no plugins with GPT-4. I thought the big reason for GPT-4 was access to plugins.
Yeah, that's a good one. Should you answer it or should I answer it?
If you have the answer, then
I do have an answer for it. So right now, plugins are in sort of an in-between state at the moment, because the recent changes with OpenAI made a lot of plugins unreliable a bit. And the most useful features for plugins are search and retrieval, which is the knowledge base. So you can upload data that that you can just, you know, upload documents, and ChatGPT will analyze the documents for you. And here's the thing, like, you can do all of that in just the basic ChatGPT 4 model now.
Yeah, no, it's just
And
getting so much better.
so that's when people said that by announcing custom GPTs and the new model with the old tools version, OpenAI probably just killed like thousands of startups in just one swoop. And a lot of plugins are now trying to find their footing. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of them will actually end up dying. The best are probably not. For example, we work a lot with the Keymate guys, and you know, they provide knowledge base and search. And I can see that the types of stuff that they are creating are going to give a ton of value, but they obviously needed to move away a bit from just the sort of the plugin experience.
Mm-hmm. Here's what I don't understand about OpenAI's decision on this, is that why is it that if I want to turn on plugins, I cannot upload files and I cannot use the browsing and such?
I mean, I'm no representative of OpenAI, but I would say that based on what we got about 6 to 7 months ago, the way retrieval works and the way code interpreter works is that they are plugins themselves. They're just internal plugins, right? So that means that you can also use other plugins, but that would probably, like, code interpreter and Dolly and browsing are 3 plugins. And I think if you added another one, which would be one of your, like, of your choice, it would be exponentially more complicated, because you would need to take an already complex tool and then add any kind of plugin to it. So the whole thing can fall apart really easily. And that means that you would be giving the keys to the users to have the ability of just breaking the product in half. And while it's unstable, as a product person, I probably wouldn't do it. I would just say, if you want to use plugins, use it different, you know, use it in a separate instance.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give you guys ideas on how to use ChatGPT to settle scores in hot, lively debates at Thanksgiving dinner this year. But as you know, if there are, like, I can see that there are a few people from the US, and tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so here is a sort of an almost safe topic. But here is how you can research for information for everyday things. This is how I learn now. This is basically how I learn about anything. So the topic was, how do you raise a bilingual child, right? So I'm like, you know, this was a conversation. I'm like, yeah, we're thinking of, you know, how do you raise a bilingual child? We had a conversation at home about this. And then I started using ChatGPT with search to kind of find specific methods and documentation on it. And it gave me a few things. It's like, you know, this is a topic where I don't know what I don't know. So now it's like, oh, one parent, one language, home language and community language, bilingual books, bilingual schools, pros and cons. Okay, now I'm getting some context. So I'm like, okay, there are a few tips, there are a few sources.
Nice.
Okay. So I'm like, you know what, home language and community language seems really nice. You know, we would speak maybe English at home, Hungarian outside the home, because, you know, we live in Hungary. So how does that work? How would that work in family gatherings and with family members who don't speak English? And then, you know, okay, I get some more specific recommendations on what to do. And there are a few considerations. And
okay, let me pause you here. I just want to explain what you did, because it might not be trivial for people. Okay. Can you go back to the prompt for the second prompt?
The second prompt. So this was the first one. I got the answer.
You got like a big picture.
A big picture.
And then with the second prompt, you said, I want to focus on the home language and community language.
Yes.
So what David is doing is he is like narrowing down the conversation to like one part of the previous response, and then tell me more about this.
This is what you can call a conversation design pattern.
Yeah.
Okay. So then ChatGPT narrows down the topic and then expands it. So now I learn a lot more about this home language and community language. But then I'm giving some more context, like, okay, are there any pros and cons to use both languages freely without restrictions, fully interchangeably? Like, let's see the sort of antithesis of this. The original idea was that I get a home language and a community language. So what if I don't have that? What if I just do the whole thing? Why do I even need to plan? It's because we were having a conversation at home while we were having a conversation with ChatGPT, and that argument came up. It's like,
okay, so this is now just like an exploring kind of prompt. Like, I have some concerns. Just tell me what you think about this part of it. Tell me a little bit more. I just want to get in more information.
Yeah. So it's basically, I'm giving more context as the conversation, offline conversation progresses. I'm giving more context to the bot so it can also kind of come in. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, so this is actually called a mixed language policy. Good. Now I'm basically using ChatGPT as a tutor or an advisor to this specific topic. And now I get the pros and the cons. So I'm like, oh, interesting. It sounds like that we don't actually really need to be so mindful. And then here's another thing. Again, another narrowing thing. No, actually, it wasn't narrowing. It was clarification. It started talking about terms that I wasn't entirely familiar with. One was code switching, which is alternating between languages. But then also there was another one, which I cannot find quickly, but it was called code mixing. And there you go. If children mix languages within the same sentence or conversation, gently ask them. That's code mixing, but I didn't understand that because it didn't specify that was code mixing. So all I did, again, is just like code switching versus code mixing. Clarification. You mentioned, if I added a full prompt, it would have been, you mentioned two terms. Can you please clarify what's the difference? But I didn't need to because it already had the full context. So if you start feeding the context properly using conversation design patterns, you can actually start condensing the prompts because it will work really well. So then it's like, okay, so here's code switching and code mixing. And it was a really interesting thing. It's like code switching occurs when a speaker alternates between two or more languages within a conversation. And then code mixing is when you embedding elements. It's like you start a sentence in English and then you finish it in Hungarians, or when like one thing that we use a lot of the times is that using English words within Hungarian sentences using Hungarian grammar, right? As it says, the same example, but with Spanish. And there are a few reasons. So now I understand how this works and how this can happen. And I'm like, okay, I'm giving some more context. And then I'm also continuing the conversation. What are the risks associated with this? So here are a few pieces of context. And then it actually refers to this. Given your specific context, this could present some challenges and risks. Oh, okay, nice. So I'm learning a lot about this just by having a conversation with someone knowledgeable. And then it just like, would you like more specific strategies or further information or mitigating these risks? Yeah, thanks. So then it goes in, and then it did a search, and then it gave me some specific strategies based on the Google search it did. And okay, there are a few insights. So again, I'm learning. It builds on the context. It's like, and now it really gets into a role. It's like, hey, would you like more detailed information or advice on any specific strategy or insight mentioned? So I didn't even ask it to keep going. But as I was giving it more and more context, and I started using like patterns, it started learning my patterns and started anticipating my next thing. So it's like, would you like? Yes, that's what I wanted to ask.
Oh my God!
Right, and then hold on, we'll see what happened. Boom, and then the whole thing fell apart. And this was when I stopped the conversation, because what happened is, interestingly, this was when I don't remember which plugin was this.
Based on the code, I think it's Keymate.
Based on the code, I think it's Keymate, but I'm not entirely sure, because what happened is that this was the time when ChatGPT was mixing up Keymate responses. If you remember, like Keymate was getting, like, OpenAI sends a prompt to Keymate, and then Keymate does the search. The search results something, and then the results are sent to OpenAI, and then OpenAI just sometimes decided to hallucinate.
Yeah, sometimes send it to a wrong person.
Yes. So, and this is what happened. Look, it actually sent a question about an article specifically, because probably another user was sending that. So this was when it fell apart. But that was a bug on OpenAI's side. But I wanted to just kind of explain to you that if you use conversation design patterns, at some point, it looks like that ChatGPT starts anticipating your responses and actually learns how to have this specific conversation with you. And then you can just learn and research about anything you want to. And that's an important thing, because then you can use it in a very, very convoluted way, very advanced way, because most people make the mistake of using ChatGPT as Google. And look, I found a lot of information, but I also used it to transform it into a way that is easy for me to digest. So instead of using ChatGPT like Google, use it like this. And that will enable you to find any kind of information, go as deep as possible, because it's not about the information. It's about going through the information and selecting the right information. And ChatGPT can make you think faster and just go through all of that a lot faster.
I really love it, especially when it says like, would you like when it guessed what you wanted to like. Yeah, it's still mind blowing. Like, even though I use this technology every single day and I teach it every single day, it sometimes even surprises me.
We had over 5 million words worth of conversations between Dave and myself, and it just never ends at ceasing. It never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah.
I still have a third one. A third conversation.
Stage is yours, brother.
Okay, guys. Do you have any questions regarding this specific chat? I'm actually going to just stand these in here because I love you guys. Not that one. That one. So here is the right high converting landing page copy. And then here is the win arguments about raising bilingual children at Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, so there's a third one. Claudia, you can also find them here, and we'll make sure that these are also shared in the What Did You GPT Today community, which is reserved for members. But if you're a member, then you will be able to access it. So let's see the third one. The third one is a specific one when, so this is a consulting scenario, right? In a consulting scenario, I'm asking a bunch of questions from a client. It's like, hey, how do you write proposals? Can you help me write proposals more effectively with ChatGPT? And I'm like, yeah, okay, tell me how you write proposals. And then it's like, I have a template. So basically, I had this conversation with the client, and then I took notes, right? So it's like, here's the structure, and then I tweak it a little bit, and and then it's like, then I go back. It's basically the client just explains that to me roughly in a free worded way. I can just take a voice memo of the conversation, have it transcribed, and then just boom, just upload the whole thing, the whole transcription to ChatGPT. And I got the numbers as well. So I like, okay. Again, these are the conversation. And like, okay, so I just put it in, and ChatGPT already put that together.
So what is this that we received?
Yeah, so basically it's like, can you please turn me into proper notes that can be easily understood? Because it was a data lake. It was unorganized text.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So
I was just taking notes during the meeting, and it was like all around the place. It was a PR agency.
Obviously, it recognized that this is a proposal writing process, and it just gave us like gave you the overview on like what's going on. There's like a part where you talked about proposal template, and then there's as we go. Okay.
Yeah, and then it explains the entire workflow, the business metrics, the potential, everything. Because we during the conversation, we also talked about if they could save time, how would that increase their top line revenue because of the additional resources that they could free up and invest back into marketing. So there were all of these. And I'm like, okay, so now based on this, explain the value of AI automation that's based on saving time on writing proposals. And again, I just kind of refed the conversation, refed the context window with the sort of top line numbers that I got from the notes. And then I added some more context about where we would spend the extra revenue. So like 30% of the extra revenue would go to upstaffing, etc. And then it started putting together another memo of how this would look like. And I'm like, okay, so the average PR firm in like this was a PR alliance of agencies. I'm like, they would be half the size of this business. So it's like, how would I be able to approach this alliance where they have this many businesses, roughly half the size in terms of people and revenue? So it's like, okay, what would that look like, right? And then I'm like, oh, okay, so calculate the minimum and maximum estimated revenue opportunity for them based on this. And then it started calculating. GPT-4 can, like, in theory, it cannot calculate, but for simple math, it does it quite well.
Yeah,
but
like simple arithmetic,
multiplications,
adding, divisions, and
but
so
when it becomes more complicated, now it just pulls in the code interpreter and builds the code and runs it and does the computation. So interestingly, I didn't even need to read the responses. I'm like, okay, now explain this in more detail, but not just the number, but put the calculations in a code block. So I had this, and I get the code block examples, the average revenue opportunity, total maximum revenue for the entire alliance. Okay, nice. So now calculate the new profit for the average company here. And then it started putting everything together. And it's like, okay, how would this change if the revenue opportunity for our service? Let's say that we would charge, like, let's assume that we would charge like 30% of the extra profit or 10% of the extra revenue. And then it started calculating our fees as well, really simply. So I didn't even look at the numbers. I didn't even look at the responses. I was just going through the motions of, now I get the response. Now my next question is, now my next question is that. Okay, so it's like, what's the total revenue opportunity for our business? And then I started getting the minimum and the maximum. And interestingly, what happened is that within about 10 minutes, I get to the point when I started with a simple voice note or a simple notes of a conversation with a client where I just answered a bunch of questions. I put that into ChatGPT and I basically put together a proposal. And now I understand the business opportunity of what we can do. I understand how we can price it, and I have a proper proposal at my disposal. I can just put this, like literally copy paste this and this result and put it into a document and send that over to the client, right? And then it's like, okay, this is my opportunity. But then before that, we had the revenue opportunity per agency. So basically, you can use ChatGPT to bridge the gap when you're talking to a client and then put it into a proposal properly, right? Just calculate the numbers, do the math, like crunch the numbers, find the business impact. You, without even reading through the notes and making sense of them, you just put that in, do some conversation design, have a conversation with ChatGPT, and within less than 30 minutes, you will actually end up having the result. I remember when I was doing this, I actually got like built this whole business case live for the customer within less than like 30 minutes, which was crazy because it took less than put together the whole business process for them than it takes them to read through the notes of one sales meeting. And yeah, so that again is a prime example of how you can just use this idea to how you can use this kind of conversation design when you use design patterns to guide the conversation with ChatGPT to get to a high value outcome. That was the third one.
Okay, let me share my screen because I just like I went on a side quest and
You went on a side. Did you win?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I found the treasure, completed the quest. So I wanted to look into ChatGPT's mathematical capabilities. So let me put this page here. So what I did first is I asked GPT 3.5. This is a problem that my dad gave me when I first showed him ChatGPT. He is a mathematics teacher in a high school in our hometown. So he asked me, like, what's the solution to x to the power of x equals 13? And this is a problem that cannot be solved analytically using elementary functions. You need like high level mathematics to do this. And then GPT 3.5, who is not really good at mathematics and cannot run its own code, came to the conclusion that it is 3.2917, which is total BS because 3 to the power of 3 is 27. And this is even more if you...
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah. Hold on, give me one moment. So basically it gave me the wrong answer. And it just went on like, an iterative process. But this went completely south, basically.
Yeah.
But then I asked GPT-4, like, what's the solution to x to the power of x equals 13? Same question. It says it needs to use the Lambert W function. And it even wrote a code where basically it defines the equation mathematically. And then I told it to compute it. And then it gave me the response 2.6411, which is, if you put it into a calculator, is the correct answer. So as you can see on this chat here, or this browser tab, 2.6411 to the power of 2.6411 is 13.0009 whatever. So this is like the difference between these two models and how GPT-4 can now actually calculate even complex mathematics. Okay, so with that being said, David, are we done with the demos?
Yeah, I think we're done with the demos.
Okay, turn on your button.
Oh, I have the button. Okay, sorry. We'll see if this works actually, because
there we go.
Does it work?
It does.
Nice. Okay, because it actually, I accidentally left it open the last time and it didn't. The battery didn't die.
Yeah, because it's smart. It like turns off if you're not using it.
Okay, good little keyboard. Awesome. Okay, so all right. So you guys, as you guys can see, the whole world goes crazy about prompt engineering, but people tend to stop there. And the real value actually lies beyond in like conversation design. And we're very, very, very enthusiastic about that, because by learning conversation design, you will be able to not only do all of these advanced things with ChatGPT, but also even more, like automate your work and build bots even. So those who are great at conversation design will be able to build awesome GPTs in the GPT store that people love, while most of the market is still trying to build like super convoluted mega prompts. And let's recap, right? So we started with saying that Harvard, Wharton, MIT scientists said that any knowledge-based job can be done 40% better, 30% faster with ChatGPT, basically saving 2 hours a day.
Right.
Is this gonna go like
that? It's gonna.
Yes. Okay, so first, you learn how to write one prompt.
Yeah, we learned that today. Big prompt engineering crash course by Dave.
That was a vibe. That was a vibe. That was a big W. And then we learned conversation design. That's the big W from me.
Yeah.
And then we just go clean, no acid, no hallucination
No
anymore,
L's, no
L's,
cap.
no cap and no L's from ChatGPT anymore. So you get to save time, work better, or as we like to say, think faster. Now, here's the thing. If you're not a student of ours yet, if you're a lurker, as we like to call you, it's not like a diminishing bit. We do love all the people who are free members, but I think there's a lot more we can teach you. I can confidently say that this year we perfected a 3-step process that can get you from beginner with no tech skills to a pro user of ChatGPT who is like super fast in doing your own job, and you can just close that gap with this simple. Oh, okay, now it's changing. I'm looking at the slides and it didn't change. So with the simple 3-step process, no tech skills needed, no previous experience with ChatGPT, we hold your hands and then take you to bliss. And we are offering, and all of you who are trialing our solution, trialing our school, you can probably see or heard that we are offering a lifetime access, pay once, member forever, right? Pay once, member forever. And here is what you guys get. First off, we start with the basics and teach you the foundations of prompt engineering in 4 hours of hands-on practical training. If you haven't done that course, after this video, go ahead and do that if you still have access to the trial. If you don't, stick with us until the end. So our prompt engineering course will get you a prompt engineering certificate now that we're officially recognized as a school on LinkedIn. And what we also mentioned earlier in this call is that from February, we're actually going to be university lecturers teaching prompt engineering at a university in Hungary. Basically, within 4 hours, you can learn over 500 hours worth of just ChatGPT trial and erroring with this lovely gentleman who is incredibly good at teaching people, and he's just doing a lot of prompt along exercises when he just shares his screen and tells everything that he is doing with ChatGPT. Now, then we move on to continuous learning to help you becoming a prompt master. So how does that work? You will get access to all the recordings of previous workshops, and we come to you with new workshops every single week with it's like a deep dive 2-hour training and Q&A session where we build and learn together with our students, and we do awesome things. We literally teach everything we know. So here are a few things that we actually taught people previously. There are advanced ChatGPT use cases. There are ChatGPT macros that we just keep forgetting to rename to prompt sequences. And there is AI audits and ROI calculations on making sure that you start using ChatGPT for the right kind of tasks within your work. How do you build GPT bots without coding? And for some people, if that's your why, we can even give you all the tools and knowledge on how you can launch your ChatGPT consulting business, because we do a lot of consulting on the side, and whatever we learn about selling this as a service, we also teach our students. And we are also expanding. This is actually brand new information, so even our existing students haven't heard this before, but we're also expanding on this on these workshops. We're going to have guest lecturers. I think we have one so far confirmed, like Roxy, and who's going to teach us making sure that your DALL-E generated images have the right kind of text. We're also going to get another guest lecturer who is a senior developer at Superpowered AI. Those guys are running a vector database company that can give ChatGPT and any large language model a long-term memory, which is incredibly useful, and it's incredibly accurate. And we're also going to have the CEO of Superpowered AI here on the ProMaster community for an interview. And we're going to keep bringing people to teach you how to build bots with different kinds of technologies. And as we learn things, we teach them immediately. That's basically our offer. But then there's also one other thing, and this is the third step of the process. We don't actually offer this during the trial. So if you joined here by buying the access to the prompt engineering course, or buying access to, or getting access to the free trial, you won't see this anywhere else. This is the only place when you can get this, which is a 45-minute private consultation. And this is basically where we can provide you hands-on personalized training to solve your actual problems. We will jump on a call, open ChatGPT, share our screen, and do you want us to do? Right? We do it, we solve the problem, and then we teach you how to do it. This is the most personalized way of learning that we can offer. This is basically a consulting call that we currently sell at $500 an hour. And there is a caveat, because if you join us for a lifetime access today, you will get a link to book a call for free. But we only have a couple slots left for the year. I think next week is almost entirely full, and because we only do these calls on Tuesdays. So you need to hurry up and book your slot. And as I said, this is a lifetime access that we are offering you guys. When you're buying these separately, these services would, like retail value, these would cost you like $1,200 ish, or even a bit more. But now that with our ChatGPT Accelerator bundle, that we call it, you can get a lifetime access for, I think I rushed ahead a bit. So this is what we call the ChatGPT Accelerator bundle. And now you can get it for $297, lifetime access to everything that we have to offer at ProMaster, and a free 45-minute consultation with either of us. And how can you get it? If you are not a lifetime member yet, if you haven't purchased the bundle before, make sure you go to the bottom of this page or snap this QR code, and that's it. Look at that, RJ.
RJ, I love it. Can we sign up for a second subscription to get another free consultation that's cheaper than your hourly rate?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, of course.
So make sure that you take a snap at the QR code, or go on the website and join us for a lifetime access. And this is also a notion that is shared by most of our students. I love this slide because it contains so many testimonials that people can probably not read. But as you can see, people love the school that we have. So let me just...
It's on the landing page. So
it's all of them on the landing page. So just go ahead, make a purchase. If you still need some convincing, you will see a bunch of testimonials there as well. Yeah.
And I mean, we still have some time. So why don't we take that time to answer people's questions? What I'm going to do is I'm going to pin your comment so people can.
And in the meantime, I want to welcome Camel and Susie to our community. Welcome to the community, and I'm so excited to see you. We're in it for life. Now we're in this together. I'm really excited to learn with all of you guys. As you can see, we also keep learning. But whenever we learn somebody, we immediately start teaching you about that. And one thing that we're also probably planning soon is, this whole OpenAI fiasco over the weekend raised a bunch of eyebrows. And I said to Dave, look, I think we need to maybe do 1 or 2 workshops on just helping people understand the broader market, talk about some other LLMs, how you can set that up, give them some more no-code skills. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to keep learning, just, marching ahead, and make sure that we have the right kind of workflow that we can give you guys, and then do a workshop on, how to use Hugging Face, how to build your own models, how to use open source models as well. So you're not entirely dependent on ChatGPT. You learn conversation design, you learn how to build bots with no code, but ultimately, most of our users, most of our students this is the way that I like to describe it these days. soft skills of an engineer, hard skills of a marketer. This is what most people are, or hard skill of an academic, or hard skill of a consultant, right? But soft skills of an engineer. If you already think like that, you will find learning conversation design super easy. And we can also help you basically be, or we can be this one source of knowledge for you, where we reduce the noise, we reduce entropy of the AI market. So for example, Scott just asked this question, when should I use Keymate Ultimate and when should I use Superpower AI? And again, that's a pretty good question. Usually when I use Keymate Ultimate, when I want to have lengthy conversations with ChatGPT, because they give you access to the 128,000 token context window, but I want to use it for my own, so I can just upload a bunch of things to the knowledge base and just use it for like simple use cases. Superpowered AI allows me to kind of mix multiple knowledge bases, and it even allows me to build my own chatbots. And one thing that I'm particularly excited about is that we're probably going to end up getting a make.com integration for superpowered AI. I just talked to the CEO 2 days ago. And when we get that, we're going to have someone from their team coming and teaching us how to do it. So that's going to be the first. Like no other place you will be able to learn how to build superpowered AI based knowledge base using chatbots without coding, other than ProMaster.
I love that gift from Jordan.
Yeah, that's it. That's
you found one of the gems for your Infinity Gauntlet. Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
So, thank you, Slide.
Thank you, Slide. Oh, did you push the button so I don't have
did.
to? Okay. So guys, thank you so much. And if you have any more questions, let us know. I'm just going to hijack this a bit. So you guys, if you haven't yet, you guys can just go back and take a snap at the QR code and buy the lifetime access, and see you on the one-on-one consulting call. If you haven't done it and you're waiting for a sign, this is it.
Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you tomorrow on the weekly workshop, and then next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
See you, everybody.
All right. See you guys. Bye-bye.
I really was lost in AI.
Wow.
And my wildest dreams.
The impact for me has been tremendous.
From A to Z. Learn how to build applications without coding, something I have always wanted to do.
These were my students who came to me a few months ago feeling confused and lost when it comes to using AI and ChatGPT and other large language models. Everybody was talking about how AI can automate most of your work, but for some reason it just didn't click for them. Now they are working as a conductor, as if they are managing dozens of AI agents they built themselves for their own work, even though most of them have literally zero or close to zero technical or coding skills. This is because of a few key principles I told them during our AI Accelerator Program. It's the exact same program that has helped over 3,000 students from 47 countries, and even being taught at universities as accredited courses. Our students report automating entire work and business processes, and not only becoming 40% more productive on average, but also feeling like they have an entire army of AI agents that is doing the work for them. We created a program that can get you to this level of AI proficiency within a month. But we not only provide you with training materials, we also offer, as part of our program, an entire support network of fellow learners and AI enthusiasts, and unlimited, unrestricted access to every resource, every learning material, every course, and every workshop we have done or we will ever do. If you want to become a master of using artificial intelligence for your work or for your business, join our Accelerator program by clicking the link below.